Hey YouTube, welcome to my channel. My name is Teal Corby. Um, hey, what's up? That was not a well-planned intro. um, so this weekend, actually, I think this happened during the week. Did it happen during the week or on the weekend? It must have been the weekend. I'm working on this painting, as you see. I'm using acrylic paint on a canvas. And I am making this painting for two reasons. One, because I want to, and two, for a special offer that I'm going to be having for my Patreon to celebrate 1 year on Patreon coming up in November. So I started my Patreon last November on the 1st, and it's been really fun having a Patreon and having my patrons and having this little community of people, of artists, and I just want to celebrate that. So what I will be doing is I'll be making this completed painting into a postcard, and that postcard will be available and like physically sent to everyone who's already a patron and anyone who signs up anyone who signs up until November 15th. I won't be selling this like as a print in my shop or anything. So it'll be really cool to finish this project and send it out. You don't see it here, but I have actually finished this painting. I just didn't record the rest of it for some reason. But you can see me getting like all the darks in there, and I start working on some of the actual colors of the things. I really like this process I've been trying lately, where I start with a very bright color and then sketch like with paint what my painting is going to be, and then go in with the darks and then go from there to like the middle tones and then the highlights. It's been a lot of fun, actually. I really now kind of want to buy more acrylic paint because there's a lot of colors I need. But yeah, I work with what I have. It was very hard to get really dark. And so I went over a lot of the same parts over and over again to make them darker and darker and darker. Eventually I get there. Eventually. It takes a lot. But I get there, and that's okay. And then I think this is the next day, so Sunday, I started cutting. I prepared all my sketches for Obscutober over the weekend. I finished them all. And I ran out of like paper on a pad, like the smaller paper. I'm using 9x12 paper. And I really didn't want to spend money this year, so I have this giant watercolor paper from my mom. So I was trying to cut it really quietly because people were still asleep in the house and it wasn't working. And then you see I ripped the page. You don't see it, but that's what happened just now. So I tried pulling from the top, but it was still very loud. You know when you rip like thick paper from a spiral, it's loud, even if you cut it. So I waited until everyone was up and then I pulled it out. I really don't like cutting paper. It makes me very nervous and uncomfortable, and I just about always mess up. I'm terrible with measuring things accurately. I tend to make things not straight or not the correct measurement, but I'm actually really proud of how well I did this time. It went pretty darn well. So yeah, I cut those up and I finished all my Obscutober sketches. So like the initial sketch for the official painting. What do I do next? Oh, I think after this, you'll see it in a second, I start working on it. Oh no, surprise, crochet. This is a voiceover, by the way, if you didn't guess. I'm making a soap saver because I have a soap bar that's kind of running out, and I'm just gonna plop it in there. I haven't tried it yet. I keep forgetting to bring it to the bathroom. It's still on my desk. I'm touching it right now. But yeah, it was super easy. There's a free like pattern online, like tons of free patterns, and I just followed that. Made it in some golden yarn. I don't have cotton yarn. I had to use acrylic. Eventually I'll get cotton yarn. But yeah, so let's talk some more about Obscutober. So for Inktober, if you don't know what Inktober is, it's a challenge in October to draw with ink every day. But since the beginning of Inktober, every year there are more like new iterations of it. So a lot of artists will make their own prompt lists, and one that I found 2 years ago, which I actually used for my first time doing Inktober, is called Obscutober. It's made by the artist Nicholas Tower, who makes really cool art. You should check them out. But he makes a list of obscure words. This is the 3rd year of it. And I love words so much, and especially obscure ones. Like my Animal Crossing town and character are named obscure words. So that's what I'm working on in this picture. I'm working on one of the initial sketches for the final pieces. I've finished them all last weekend, like I said, and I'm recording this voiceover on Wednesday. I actually finished the first piece yesterday, and I think what I'll be doing this year, I think it'll still be too difficult to post to YouTube every day. So what I'm going to do instead is post to TikTok every day. So if you want to keep up with like how I make the pieces, I'm going to have TikToks up of the process. Not like the full process, but like each step that I go through. And most likely I'll be making Instagram reels too each day. So I guess you could follow me on either platform if you want to, just if you want to. So I'm planning on using ink and watercolor, and is that it? I'm using a dip pen. I think I'll be switching between dip pen and like Micron pens. And then for 1 or 2 of the pieces, there's gold involved. So I picked up this calligraphy ink that is golden from the brand Manuscript. So I'm excited to use that. I'm using various papers. I'm using what I have. So I used up the rest of my Stonehenge cold press paper, most of my Strathmore paper, also cold press, and my Arches paper. So yeah, and here, so I had this idea a while ago to make a little like Patreon ad for my Instagram posts, and I just never did it. So I finally was like, okay, what can I do right now? And I thought about it. So I just went ahead and did it. It was very like off the cuff. I didn't plan anything. I just kind of went with what was happening. So a lot of my Obscutober pieces are going to have these heads that are cut off. And so I did that with my own head and put the little Patreon logo you'll see in a second in my head. And over it, like in like a rainbow arc, it says creating on Patreon. I'm really trying very hard to get to a point where being an artist can be my full-time career. If you don't know, like if you're new here, I work at a preschool, 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday. Lots of work, lots of stress, especially lately because we've been understaffed, and the staff we've had, like there's been issues, and so it's so much. I just really want to be doing what I want to do. I want to make art at home. My favorite things to do are commissions. Even if I don't do commissions, I love drawing and painting, and I'd love to share that with everyone and do like tutorials and share my process. But without like this ability to afford bills on my own, I just don't have time for any of that just yet, but I hope to very soon. So if you're interested in that, I have a few different tiers. I have a low tier of like $1 and then $5 and then $10. I used to have a $15 tier for mail, but no one was signed up for it. So I went ahead and unpublished that until I feel like it's more relevant to my community to have. But yeah, so for this little Instagram ad bit, I'm just using colored pencils. That's pretty much it. I sketched out in a coal erase pencil so I could erase just in case. But yeah, I'm using colored pencils, and later on in the day, I scan it in and clean it up a little bit because there are some like little bits and pieces that looked a little messy. As far as like the type of color pencil I'm using Prismacolor colored pencils. I think there's one like Caran d'Ache luminance pencil in there that I got from an art box subscription. Yeah, I'm working in a Stillman and Burn sketchbook. I think the Zeta series. I love it. I'm almost at the end of it. I have I have one other sketchbook to fill before I like buy new ones, but I think I'm gonna stick with Stillman and Burn in the future. It's pretty affordable, and I love the paper a lot, and I like that it has rounded edges. It's got a soft cover. That's my jam for sure. After I do that, my brain is still pretty stuck on Patreon, so I started scanning my sketchbook for patrons. All my tiers get sketchbook scans. I try to do them monthly. I realized that I didn't post anything in the month of August, but to be fair, I posted twice in July. And also to be fair, I didn't sketch much in August, but I had like a sudden burst of creativity in September. I think because Obscutober was coming and I started planning, and I just overall felt more inclined to draw. And I even was drawing at work too. So I had a lot to scan for this last update. And then after that, I took a picture of every Obscutober sketch that I've done so far. Well, all of them, because by this time I was finished. Because I'm trying very hard to make sure I document every single step of what I do. That way I can share it with you all and, just have that out there in the world. Because I think it's interesting to see how artists make their work and what steps they go through. And I'd love to share that with everyone too. Thank you all so much for joining me for this studio vlog. In a couple seconds, if you stay, you're gonna see a really cute cat that's just been chilling outside our window for a couple weeks, who I think is the mama to some kittens. Bye.